Hello everyone, welcome to the Daily Sip, and this is Oliver from Neo, and my mission is to bring you closer to Japanese organic green tea. And today I have a very special guest. Today we are going to talk about Gyokuro green tea. Also known as Jade Dew or Jewel Dew, this tea is the most precious in Japan. You also have various or different competition of farmers going to trying to be the Gyokuro or the green tea of the emperor. So around this tea there's a high competition. The people or the farmers themselves, they really try to push their Gyokuro to the max to have the maximum umami, and umami is actually what people are looking for. This is a little bit this savory, this sweet taste which is coming in with the Japanese green tea, and people in Japan really like this strong umami taste because it's kind of this sweet savory taste sensation, long lingering in your mouth, in your palate, so you really have an enjoyment of the green tea not only while you drink it but also in the time after you had it. And this tea is today the one which is appreciated and the most precious in Japan. But how did this tea actually evolve? So there are several stories about it, but apparently Yamato Kasai, who was the sixth person who was leading the Yamato tea company, he discovered this tea in 1835, and apparently it was due to the fact that farmers tried to cover the plants and protect them from the frost, and with this then the plants started to become more sweet and a little bit more savory and a little bit sticky. And this was a reason why actually then he decided to bring it back to Tokyo, to bring it to the market, and he sold it, and he sold it even very well. And then Gyokuro was born in its initial state. Perfection in 1840, it finally hit the market as Gyokuro, and it finally got its positioning right. So nowadays we are, thanks to the discovery of Mr. Yamamoto, we have this tea now on our in our world, and I am also a big fan of it due to the fact that it is very strong in this savory taste note. It might be not for everyone. When you're starting into green tea, it might be a little bit strong, but it's definitely, when you know a little bit about green tea, when you know a little bit like the taste and you really like this a little bit savory sweet taste, then definitely Gyokuro has to take part of your stash of tea at home. So when we just look at the tea itself, a very beautiful dark, and this comes from the long shading process. So the tea is shaded from 20 even to 30 days. Some farmers even push it to the edge to 40 days. But most of the time it's between 20 and 30. This tea here is from Mr. Sakamoto, and he does it for 21 days. And this morning, I took a Yabukita. So Yabukita, you know, the main cultivar or the main tea plant type in Japan, and this tea here comes from the Yabukita. Nevertheless, it is a very fine tea, long shaded, and what is exceptional about it is that actually the needles, they are, for a Japanese tea, quite long, quite thick. So very beautiful tea, and just this dark color is typical for the tea. Why does this tea have such a savory taste? So this is mainly driven by the theanine. Theanine is the kick, or the umami kick, brings really this umami strong flavor to the tea, so this savoriness to the tea. And that's why also the Gyokuro as well as the matcha, they are the highest in theanine, because they are covered 20 days to even 30 days before harvest. And what happens is, when the sunlight touches the mature tea leaves, they start to turn theanine, which is an amino acid, into a catechin, which is a polyphenol, and then the tea turns a little bit more into a savory, into a fresh, into more citrusy or a little bit more stringent note. But when you cover it, you really keep the whole savoriness in the tea, and that's why the Gyokuro stays so strong in its umami flavor. So this is the background of the tea. Today I brought my black Tokoname Kyusu. Black Tokoname Kyusu is thanks to the fact that it releases a little bit of minerals. It's soothing, it's smoothing the tea, and it makes it more round or more full-bodied. That's why also I brought my black Tokoname Kyusu today, and I'll have 5 grams of the Gyokuro today, and I just gonna brew it for 2 minutes. Some people also say that it's a little bit that Gyokuro is the Bordeaux of green tea, so it is said that Gyokuro reaches its best flavor after around 3 years. So this is one of the only teas which is really developing in the direction of improving year after year. So when you stock it right, when you keep it at the right temperature, this tea is the best after 3 years of storing in a safe, cold and dark place. Then you really can have a maximum taste, maximum sweetness, because what happens over time is that in terms of taste, the kind of the catechins, they break down over time, so the more bitter part, they even disappear more, which renders the tea more smooth, sweeter, rounder, so you even have a tea which is better over time. So the Gyokuro definitely worth to keep it longer. You don't have to consume it right away, and also you should consume a Gyokuro after around 6 months after harvest. Before it still is, it's still able, you're still able to consume it, but it's still kind of young, a little bit of a fresh tone, and you have a little bit less this strong round flavor profile. So you have to wait a little bit with the Gyokuro. After 6 months is just the best time, and then you can keep it up till 3 years, and then you really have a good taste. So after 6 months you should consume the Gyokuro. Good. So we just wait here a little bit longer. Otherwise, from the farmer, so Mr. Sakamoto, as all of our teas, he does organic planting, and he's very well known for really focusing on this umami flavor profiles, on this savory flavor profile. And what he tries is he does even his own fertilizer, so he really tries to push the savoriness of the tea through a good mix of organic ingredients, and on the basis of soy and of rice hulls. That's how he does his fertilizer, and then this gives the optimal nutrients to the tea. And what happens also in the shading process is actually that the tea itself starts to absorb more and more nutrients from the soil, because when you cut it from the daylight, which happens completely for Gyokuro, then the plant gets in a stressed state. It produces more chlorophyll to try to absorb more of the sunlight. If it gets a little bit, and it starts to produce more caffeine. That's why it's also considered, or it is one of the highest caffeinated green teas, and it also starts to absorb more nutrients. That's why it gets so nutrient rich. This tea then finally evolves in this taste profile, which I will describe you just now. So let's have the first cup of Gyokuro. So you can see this is a asamushi. Asamushi means lightly steamed tea. It kind of freshens up the tea a little bit. And I got also a little bit of a creaminess. There's a little slight nuttiness coming out in the tea. But it's much more on this green vegetal side. Now I'm curious to see how the third one will be. Good. Now let's just try it. Now it really, so it was really, you really had this strong savory taste in the first one. Then it moves a little bit into a more of a greener side. Now have even a little bit of a dryness coming into the tea. So quite interesting in terms also of a flavor profile, that it changes a lot, and that in the first the first brewing you really have this a little bit savory, strong savory hit, and then over it goes a little bit over into a more green, more kind of a broad taste spectrum, giving out a little bit more. It nearly seems that you have a little bit more of a reading of chlorophyll, which is then triggering a little bit more this vegetal, a little bit green, grassy taste. And now in the end, you have even a little bit of a dryness coming in, so kind of a turning a little bit more into a slight tannic taste profile, which you might know maybe of dry wine or anything you have already drunk, which is a little bit filled with tannins. So it gives a little bit of a nearly, not, it's not a zesty, but it's a little bit of freshening up the tea in the end, which is quite nice for this tea session. Just to round it up, just give a small fresh kick. What you also can do is that you actually do the last brewing and you just give it a stronger with hot water, just a short kick, just to release also a little bit more of the catechins, to just give the last brewing a little bit of a slight astringent kick to it. This you also can do. In this case here, I stayed at the same temperature, and this is then the Gyokuro, which we have here. This one is from the region of Kagoshima, so from the south of Japan. The most famous region is actually the region of Yame in Japan. There it is said that around 40 to 50% of all Gyokuro is produced in Japan. We will definitely go there one time, but for now we stayed in Kagoshima with the organic green tea of Mr. Sakamoto. So this was this session. I hope you liked it, and if you have any question, please ask me. I'll be more than happy to answer them. Good. See you and bye bye.